getting a lot of stuff today, a lot of knowledge. Seen a lot of good stuff. The fish demo was awesome. We got to hire one of those down around the house. Butcher.
Brian was horrible.
What's that?
Brian was horrible.
Yeah, that's typical. You'd expect it.
All right, this is my friend GregTaylor. He's the corporate executive chef for Nestle Professional, and he's based in
Vancouver, Washington.
Vancouver, Washington. If you don't know where that is, it's by Portland.
By Portland. The other Vancouver.
The other Vancouver. So Greg has been doing, Greg's been doing this presentation or variations of it for all the ACF regional conferences, and I think he's doing a version at the national conference. So you just save $500 bucks for coming here today. Greg,
That's true.
go for it.
Okay, just kind of give you a little bit about my background. I've been with Nestle now for 9 years, working somewhere in 9th, 10th year, somewhere in there. Prior to that, I was in operations with a family owned operation, owned a culinary school, catering operation, consulting operation, and a restaurant. And so I took over that after I left being a corporate chef for Nestle's competitor for 9 years. And for some reason I decided I wanted to get off the streets, get back into operations. 3 days into that I realized I was an idiot, and I turned back and went back into back onto the streets in the corporate world. And I love it here because one thing people look at us as Brian and and the Nestle chefs or corporate chefs, and they kind of really look at us as salespeople. And I just did a thing with Brian in Solon a couple weeks ago where we were teaching a bunch of broker chefs and doing an educational seminar for them and things. And they said, "What's the best thing you learned about Nestle Professional, or the best thing you've done in your career?" And it's the day I realized that I wasn't a salesman, that I was still a chef, that I was an educator, I was a mentor, like Brian had talked about earlier. And as you're a chef in the field, that includes, being a father, mother, brother, sister, babysitter, priest, rabbi, on down the line, all in the same day in the same kitchen. And it's no different for us out there now. And what we try to do is we try to take what we learn out in the field and what we learn out in the streets and then turn around and give that knowledge back to you. Because, it's hard. I don't know how many kitchens Brian was in last year, but I was in over 100. 100 kitchens in probably 70 towns across the United States. I was on the road 280 some plus days. 300. Yeah, what's that?
305.
Yeah, 305 she says, so, and she keeps counting.
Introduce your shadow chef.
Yeah, this is my wife, Tracy. So what I've done a couple of years ago to stay married, I started bringing her with me rather than staying on the road all by myself all the time. So and it works out great. Kids are in college and it's perfect. But I look at it as just we have a responsibility to educate you or pass on knowledge, whether it's trends, culinary knowledge, the bad stuff, the good stuff, the good, bad, and the ugly all the way around. So. And what we're going to do today is kind of go through a couple different things, and Ryan will talk about the objectives, but I just want to say hello really quick, and we're going to kind of play this back and forth, good cop, bad cop for a little bit. So.
Am I supposed to say something?
Yeah, say something.
Oh, by the way, my name is Brian Dragos. If you saw any agenda, there was supposed to be a gentleman by the name of William Franklin, certified master chef. Pretend it's me. Within Nestle in the sales part, there's plenty of great things about being part of a sales organization or a manufacturer, but there's some parts that are not so good. So Bill committed to this a while back with the understanding that if Walmart calls, I'm not going to be there. And he said he was 99.9% sure that Walmart wasn't going to call him. And of course, 8 days ago, I got the email, Walmart calls. And Bill works in a division of ours that just takes care of delis and commissaries and stuff like that, and that's his #1 customer. So that's why Bill Franklin isn't here. So he sends his apologies, probably not so much, but he does send them. So I'm going to, as you can tell already today, fudge my way through Bill's part today. So, the name of this presentation is A Pig's Ear to a Silk Purse. That's an old thing. Bill Franklin is actually part of the family of the Ben Franklin heritage. So a lot of his presentations come up with historical verbiages. What do they taste this? What do they do with the stuff in front of them?
Oh, we'll do that in a little bit.
Okay, just what, I didn't listen. The one I saw you do this, I of course gobbled it up before you said a word. And in the silk purse, I don't know. I think I put it on eBay.
That's where I got all these, was from eBay.
So we bought them back. Thanks. Just send them to me now. Whatever's left. So what this is meant to be today, you know, me as a chef, and I'm just putting this in my own words. For years, when I watched and I've heard the term molecular gastronomy or food science, you know already today the little bit you've learned of me. You know where I went. It wasn't to my happy place. When they start saying you need a gram scale, that certainly used to be my happy place, but it's not my happy place today. So when they started using some of these terms coming up, and I was befuddled. So for me to even understand molecular gastronomy, I have to touch it, as you know today, kinesthetic, touch it, feel it, taste it, then it starts making a little sense. So we're going to try to use, because Greg's a different type of educator, more the audiovisual traditional educator, and I'm more the baloney artist. So we're going to kind of combine them. And we've been doing this, and we've been partnered up kind of this year, and I think we do great together. We've done on street food, this, and then our own broke the train up. So. All right, now, let's go. Let's get some objectives. To better understand the modernism movement that is trending around the world, to better understand the required connection between the classics, the movement, and how best to support it. So if I took the first one in my own words, to better understand this stuff, the elbow leaf, even the term modernist cuisine, molecular gastronomy. So let's understand, just a quick hour today, let's understand a little bit more, and to better understand the required connections. Because a guy like me, and I think cooking, just having the smell of popcorn in a balloon, just for that, still for an old school guy like me, yippee skippy, what's that got to do with food? Now, how does it connect? If it connects to taste, texture, and it connects to the classics, you know, flavor, texture, doneness, umami, you know, the yum factor. Now that's where I want to learn. I'm more in part 2. As professional cooks, chefs, we are the guardians, protectors, and promoters of our craft. As professional cooks and chefs, it is our responsibility to protect our heritage while promoting the future through the modernism techniques. So what is that? Okay, let's have a conversation about this might be accomplished. Let's go on the second one first. Professional cooks are responsible to protect our heritage while promoting the future through modernism techniques. What does that really mean in English? Because I'm not Bill. Job security for us and our youth. And we have to have education. We got to stay on top of these trends. The first one, I've heard that from when I was a young kid. Guardians, protectors, the word garde-manger, guardian of the meats. We are the protectors of this trade. Otherwise, it'd be all out of a food service 101 for dummies if it wasn't for us in this room. They somehow make it easier, and they gelatinous, so everybody.
Any classical trained chefs in here? Like Swiss, Austrians, a few of those. Is that? Swiss. Okay, so you have a background in, you know, the people you learned from were all, you had an apprenticeship here in the States or in Switzerland? All in Switzerland. So you understand the basics of classic cuisine and what the principles of those are. You know, has that changed over the years from where you were an apprentice to now? The attitude towards classics, the attitude towards the classic cooking methods?
Yes, soon the more I get involved with it, a lot of things change.
Yeah. Very, very true.
Did he say it was Swiss?
What's that?
Did he say Swiss?
Yeah.
Do we like Swiss this week?
We'd love
we work for Nestle. We love Swiss.
We love Swiss. Budgets came out last week. We love the Swiss. But I think there's a big thing, and where I'm going with that is the attitude of, you know, and I'm past culinary instructor. I've been in the Olympics. I've cooked all over the world and German kitchens, and I was basically raised through Swiss and Austrians and you know, that kind of world where there was really no human rights in the kitchen at that point in time in our lives, but we just kind of went through it and smiled and didn't say anything about it. You just worked it and you did it. But I think the attitude is that learning the basics of, you know, back to football, blocking and tackling, where everybody now wants to go from modern, you know, take the modern techniques, the molecular gastronomy, the foams, the gels, things like that, and they don't want to step back. They want to be the scientist, but they don't want to step back and be the historian and understand the ground level flavor. This stuff over here exists because of all the flavors and stuff that were produced out of the braising pans, all the stock pots, the kettles, and things like that. We have a reason why we call it foams, foundation of flavors. So it's built upon that. It isn't just all coming out of a test tube. And that's where I see the biggest connection between the two is that the ones that are very successful, you know, the Nathanol, the Furers, those guys have a strong understanding of the classics. Because once you do that, you can cook anything. Once you know what braising is, you know, grilling, sauteing, all the techniques, you understand the basic techniques, you can do anything. Everybody just wants to drive 400 miles an hour, but they don't ever want to fill a tank first. You know what I mean?
We've already touched base on this a lot today. All present are in different stages of their careers and different levels of understanding and comprehension within our craft. We want to make you think sustainability is the theme of this conference, and what we demonstrate today fits nicely into it. You've heard that from the fish guy, from the meat guy. We're all different stages of our careers. For me, too, any chef, you all know, if any chef says, I know everything about culinary, you know one thing about them for sure, right? They're lying. Because there's always some backwoods Louisiana thing, or Thailand thing, or Vietnam thing that they don't know, or grandma's thing that is off the hook that they don't know, right? Go ahead, Jason. Oh, this is definitely you.
This is me. Okay. So basically what we're going to do today, we're going to take a little bit of the classics, we're going to bring it out into just using a modern cooking technique. And it actually is not a modern cooking technique, it is quite ancient, and it's sous vide. Okay? It's part of the molecular gastronomy craze, if you will, but basically I've got a couple different, I'm going to show you the process and I'll break down the cut of meat that we're going to be using. But classically we know that, you know, the beef or the pork, the veal all have different areas, all different cooking methods applied in each one of the areas. What we're going to focus on today is the chuck or the shoulder clod, which is the upper foremost left section up there. And basically what I've done is I've taken a 114 shoulder clod tender, if you will. Okay, this is what a whole one looks like. You guys are welcome to move up around here if you like. But this is what a whole one looks like. It's very compact, and it's the outer part of the shoulder clod. Okay.
So breaking things down, as you know I do roots-wise, looking at this carcass and a shoulder clod, would that be considered a tender cut or a not so tender cut?
Not so tender.
Not so tender. And why?
And what'd you say?
I said cheap.
It used to be really cheap. It used to be. Who used to use ton of tri-tips? The old timers. Who used to use a ton of tri? Remember when you bought them and they were 99 cents a pound? And they were just throwing them into the bins to be ground? You know, it's like, hey, what are you doing with that? I want those, you know? And then they just grind them up. They used to be 99 cents a pound. Now they're $5.99 a pound. Because somebody figure out how to use them.
So the amateurs like me, when you look at any kind of carcass cut, whether it's beef, pork, veal, whatever, when you see the area that gets a lot of movement, okay, tough, and usually inexpensive unless chef says somebody's created a value add thing. The Tysons, the Nestle's, those the companies of the world are genius at it. You ever hear, there's a new thing that's been out a couple of years and we don't do it, but I pick on it because it cracks me up every time. Pig wings. Anybody heard those? Farmland pig wings.
Farmland pig wings.
Yeah, they take a little piece of pig that has bone in it. It used to be a throwaway piece, and now because of the buffalo wing trend, they're like $2.29 each, and you can go order 6 for like $12. They're called pig wings. Ridiculous the amount of stuff they do. So, and when I was young, the shoulder clod, this was the generic calf meat for employee cafeteria. You can make beef stew out of it. You can make green chili burros out of it. This was the $139 back in the day that I'd have to cut that all down and cut it into chunks and stew meat, and that's what all I used to do with that.
So what we're going to do is we'll work with the 114, which is this. This is right out of the Meat Buyer Guide spec. If you don't own one, go online and you can download a trial version of it, and actually you can PDF it, so you don't have to pay the $50 for the book.
So you're saying to borrow it, not necessarily steal it, right?
No, you're not stealing it. You're downloading it off the internet. It's available on a page that's floating around in cyberspace somewhere.
I borrow music like that all the time.
I do.
So chef's going to tear that down.
Okay, so we're going to go to the 114, and then what I'll do is I'll break it down, I'll seam it out, next one, and what we're going to end up with is the 114D, okay, which is typically, you'll see in what we know as the shoulder clod, not the shoulder clod tender, okay, and what they call this, they'll call this section right here, okay, is where it's going to come from, and it's literally called the shoulder heart or the shoulder blade steak. Okay, and once it's removed and we cut through it, and I'll show you exactly the final piece. There's a couple other pieces I'm not going to bother with, but explaining what they are. But when we cut that off, I'll show you where the teres major, teres minor come off of this. Okay, and those are what you're typically looking at as the mock tenders, things like that. But we're interested in this piece, which is commonly marketed as either the hanger steak or skirt steak. Okay, it's what you'll see a lot of people using in markets or restaurants for steak frites, things like that. The biggest problem with it is that nobody knows how to cook them. Okay, and if you still think it's very flavorful, they throw it, marinate it a little bit, throw it on the grill, cook it high heat, pull it off, slice it thin, the wrong direction, and then you're chewing on rubber bands and sucking on your French fries. And it just doesn't work very well. But what I've done with this, I'm going to take this, I'll break it down, I'll show you what I've done to it. And basically what I've done is we have broken it down to this part. Okay. I have tied it up, seasoned it, left the whole thing whole, not split it, because normally when you split the hanger steak, there's a big membrane, okay, a tendon that runs down the inside between the two muscles. Okay, so what I've done with this is I've just seasoned it, added beef base and a ancho.
Miner's beef base.
Yeah, miner's beef base and our red chili adobe and roasted garlic. Smeared that on the outside after I tied it up. I am a classic person, so I had to run it in a pan, and sear it that way, then cryovac it, okay, and then this has been basically submerged in a water bath at 130 degrees for the last 30 hours. Okay, so when we cut this,
Is that going to make me sick?
no,
Isn't that
No,
right in the
why
middle
won't
of
it?
the temperature danger zone?
why won't it?
Why not?
No air.
No air.
There we go. My
No
new
air.
friend. He's smart.
No air in it. It totally is sealed. When we pull it out, we'll use the jus to produce the sauce out of it, okay, which comes in its own. But when we cut into this, It's gonna be a perfect medium rare medium, and it'll eat like butter. And the tendon that's on the inside is gonna be one big jello mass. If you
So
like,
it's not gonna
if
be
you
tough
like,
anymore.
no, and if you like pig's, pork belly, seared pork belly, you'll love this part of it, okay? Very simple, okay, very easy.
And that's gonna be part of our dinner. So today, many times you go to demos and you see this little magic and then that's the end of it. Today at the final thing today, the halibut, this, what do you call this again? Terrace major, minor, mungo?
This is the blade steak.
Feel free to come up and take a look, watch this.
Yeah, I'm just gonna
chef.
take this out, break this out really quick. And believe me, I'm not a professional butcher, so
We promise we won't compare you to the fish guy.
he's got better knives than I've got. So. But basically what we're gonna do is we'll seam this out. Following this seam here is what we're looking for. The terrace major and minor. Okay, we pull away this fat cap, so I'm not gonna break it all the way down.
This is for the vegetarians out there.
Yeah, we love vegetarians. Roasted, sauteed, fried. So basically I'm pulling off some of this fat, which we don't need.
There's no wastage anymore. They use everything.
Everything. Everything will get ground, everything will, I'll save every piece of scrap on this and not go to waste. I just want to show this muscle. So does that look familiar? Okay. What is that? What is that? That's the mock tenderloin. That's the terrace major. So that's where that comes from. Okay, and it is attached to the terrace major or minor, which is this piece right here. And there's usually a fat cap, but it looks like when they cut this out, they did a pretty good job of getting rid of it, which I usually like to see it. But I'm going to follow the seam right down, okay, using my thumb to pull it up and just follow the seam. I had a butcher, and one of the ones I did at other ACF things, he said, "Chef, I would have been done already." I go, "I figured you probably would, but."
Has anybody belonged to other ACF chapter throughout the United States or this state or anything?
I do.
Did they do this many, like a free day with all this much education for you?
Only one I know is Alaska.
Just Alaska?
Yep.
So between Arizona and Alaska, this is it, huh?
From what I've seen.
Right on, Chef. We'll have you back anytime.
Okay, so we'll just continue to roll this back. Okay.
How we doing, Chef?
Doing good. How are you?
Paid by the hour?
I do get paid by the hour. And you shorted my check last week, so I'm moving a little slower. So this is the mock tender off of there. Terrace major, minor. Save that. Work on that guy later. Okay, so now we're going to do is we're focusing on getting this piece out right here, is what will end up going into the water bath for us. And we're just going to follow this seam straight down, and you can see where the seam just splits. For some reason, I think God thought cooks were stupid and made everything, dissect by, lines. I mean, onions have lines. What do fish have lines? The halibut has lines. I mean, chickens have lines. I mean, it's like, follow the lines.
Don't give away our secret, Chef.
I'm trying not to. Okay, so I just follow this one down.
Somebody mentions the Swiss before. You know what we like working for the Swiss? Everybody keeps their job and everybody gets paid the same. Did I say that out loud?
It's a good stock, too.
That's a
Good
good start.
start. Okay, so see how that's going to come separate right out? Okay. We're going to just keep following that. Follow all the decal and all the fat. Come back around here.
32 hours at 1:30.
And I've moved this one up to 168 degrees because it's what I'm going to cook all the vegetables and things in. Okay. Okay, so there is the piece we're looking for. Okay, plus what they call the tail piece. Okay, or deckle meat. This is actually, for those you don't know, this piece that's right here, and I'll clean it up. Show you. I'm going to whip this one around. This piece here usually is ground, okay, used for meats. This piece here is very, very flavorful, great for beef stew. If you chunk it up and you hit it correctly and you pound it, you could probably get little, things for chicken fried steaks, things like that out of it. You know, no reason, especially at $1.99 a pound, not to work with these. I'm gonna swing right behind you here. Take that home, feed it to my dog tonight.
Chef, it almost looks like the picture.
What's
Take that
that?
little
Almost
tail
looks
off.
like the
Take
picture.
take that little tail off.
Yeah, I'll take, and that's what I'll do is because this is the piece, I'll be honest with you, and you go to a meat packing plant, this is the piece right here that everybody's telling you that it's a shame to see it go to waste. And I'll show you why. I'm just gonna come in underneath it here. Like I said, if I were at a meat processing plant, I'd have a hook in one hand and a razor in the other one, and I'd be on my merry way. And with this one, I want to ask you what you think it looks like. Anybody think what it looks like right there? I'm not going to take all that fat off because I want to clean this one up instead, but take a look at it. If you were to clean all the fat off of it, okay, the long strands, what's it look like?
Flank?
Almost like flank steak. And it cooks and it cuts and eats just like flank steak. But I think probably about 20 times better. And you only get about 2 portions out of that. So that's like chef's bites. You know, that's your customer never sees it. So, but that piece off of the blade is awesome. Very, very flavorful, holds its marinade. I mean, look at the marbling in it. It's very tender, it gets very little use. You know, it's not like all the other muscles in the shoulders that are constantly on the move.
So then that piece basically just goes to waste then?
It gets ground. I don't know the technical term for it. The best piece, I call it.
Chef's treat.
The chef's choice, yes.
They'll feed it to the animals again, right?
What's that? They'll feed it to the animals? They might.
No, I'm serious.
It will probably get ground up and go into something.
Into custom culinary food bases.
That's true.
Or did I say that out loud?
Okay. So, like I said, none of this would ever get thrown away. It'd all be saved. And taking this piece, and I'm going to leave a little fat on it to help it with some flavor. You know, and contrary to popular belief, you know, salt is your friend and fat satisfies, no matter what anybody wants to tell you.
Hey, culinary students, back to that chef exam online. What kind of knife is chef using there?
A fillet knife.
Fillet knife? Maybe? What's another name for that knife?
Boning knife.
Boner.
Boning
There you
knife,
go.
yeah.
Is it an F dip?
It's a brand X.
It's a brand X. It's a Dexter of some sort. It's seen probably about 30 years worth of culinary service.
Take my luggage for
That's not right. So I'll clean that up. And this has great marbling to it also. Yeah. What I'm going to do is I want to show you what happens when you do cut this in half. Like I said, and there's usually a piece that goes over the top of this to protect this here, but when they processed it, they ripped right through it with their blades. So, but basically, you're gonna see, normally what I would do from here, I'd clean it up a little bit more. I would take it I would take them, and I'll do a small piece of it. In fact, we'll do that. So I want you to see this inside piece here. I would normally not do this, so, but I want you to see what happens when you, okay, see the interior of that? Usually how it's split right there on the back side. You split it down and you butterfly it out, okay? And then you're stuck with this big, huge tendon and a piece of fat that runs right straight down through the eye of it, okay? So what our goal is to tenderize the meat, flavor it, but also make sure that we break down the connective tissue so it becomes tender, okay? And if we know classical cooking techniques, we know that you're only going to do that through what? Braising, stewing, simmering. You know, it's not going to happen through what happens with this typically. It gets grilled. So it's going to stay tough. So that's why this is a classic steak that should be ordered cooked no more than medium rare. If you are, your house is big on selling, these steaks and people order them medium well and medium, I'd be walking out the table and telling them I can't take responsibility for, I'll cook it for you. But how many of you have done that as chefs? Walked out and say, because you're preserving the integrity of your craft by helping educated diners saying, I realize you want it this way, ma'am or sir or whatever, but I'm just letting you know, it normally isn't cooked that done. It's like pork. When was the last time there was a trichinosis outbreak in the United States? So eating 145 degree, 150 degree pork, medium rare, medium pork's not going to kill you. So
When you split that in half,
Uh-huh.
you're talking about?
Yep.
You call that flat iron at that point?
Yep, that's exactly what it is. We usually look somewhat similar to, you'll have one piece that's pretty clean. This is the split here. This knife is a lot to be desired, but I didn't bring mine, so. Anyway, so when you butterfly it out, you're going to have one piece that will have that membrane down the whole piece, and typically there'll be a little bit here, but most of it will be on one side. But that's a flat iron steak. That's what that is. So I take them, at this point in time, what I do with them is you can split them, stuff them, do whatever you want with them. Basically what I'm going to do is, just like I did with these, okay?
Speaking of flat iron steaks, the senior chefs in the room, do you remember back in the day? It didn't exist, right? It's just like pig wings. Just like pig wings. Yeah, 7, 10, 12 years,
And
there was no flat iron steak.
Yeah, and
They
it's,
took a secondary cut, made it look like a steak, and called it a whole new name.
Charge
Value
us.
steak. Yep, and it drove the price
that's
up
right,
on
they're
the steak from,
charging way more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, it can be up to
Chef, you
$10
can
for
also
something that
pleat
used to cost
those and
$1.39.
put crushed glutaminase and then roll it round.
Mm-hmm.
What's in that piece, chef?
This is Miner's beef base, Miner's red chili adobe, and Miner's roasted garlic concentrate. Because I like to add some flavor to
And
things.
that's it?
That's it.
I like that.
That's it. It's got salt. You're gonna season it and salt it anyway, aren't you? Salt and pepper.
That might be
People
good
using-
for a contest idea.
That is a great idea. Are you guys having a contest?
Yeah.
Oh, send me an email. I'll send you some recipes.
Oh, great. Where's your card?
Nominal fee, right, Chef?
No. Just
You know, if
depends.
you go to flavormeansbusiness.com, I have cards in my pocket too if anybody needs any. Every Miner chef has their own blog, so there's multiple blogs by Chef Taylor, myself, all the rest of, there's currently 15 boys and girls that do what we do throughout the country. So think about that as you, think about bases and flavorings and different companies. Since 1953, Miners is the American company based in Cleveland that created paste meat first soup bases that has used chefs to sell their products since 1953. So when it comes to the other guys, so when you're thinking about it, and I'll pick on the other guys that aren't here today, when you see like a US labeled beef base or chicken base, and sometimes you go, oh, who makes that? I don't know. Who does make that? It could be one company in January, it could be another company in May, it could be whoever sends the value pricing out to them. So miners, we don't make any label. We don't make for anybody else. Miners is always miners. Is that okay to slip that in there, Chef?
Yep, it's a good thing. Because, I hear all the time out there people saying, oh, it's, my sales guy told me that miners discontinued this and we're making it for you now. It's like they're doing private label. No, we don't do private label. So I basically just,
Well, you guys, miners don't pack for anybody.
nobody else. We'll pack custom label. We'll build custom products for you, but we won't pack a private label.
So and don't get confused with when he uses the term custom. When he means that, he means, for an example, here in this marketplace, I work a lot with Tilted Kilt. Believe it or not, a guy like me, I work with Tilted Kilt, and I create custom products for them.
I looked up his
Their beer
address
cheese-
to his office. It was a Tilted Kilt.
The beer cheese soup that's on the current menu was created with their staff and myself. So when we say custom, we don't mean the brand custom, but we'll make stuff for them. And when it comes in, it says Tilted Kilt label. So we'll do stuff for major manufacturers, but we don't do Cisco, Shamrock, US, or any other label base.
Okay, so I've done with this, and I've just basically rolled it in the marinade mix, if you will. Okay, tied it up. At this point in time, I, as a classic person, would take it to a pan and I would sear it. Okay, new wave modernism is that they think the flavor is going to be built in the bag, which is true, but I still don't think you're going to build enough flavor in the bag to do that. So, but what I've done is I've added a little pork jelly, okay, which you'll be tasting here in a little bit. I've added a little pork jelly to that to give it some base, to give it some gelatin, okay, give it a nice flavor base for the sauce. I would take my bag, product, put it in the bag, okay, and if for some reason I don't have an expensive Cryovac machine or a seal meal thing from Costco or someplace, you don't need a $3,000 Cryovac machine. All you do is you take the bag, okay, you try to remember your old days, try to get as much air out of it as you possibly can, okay, and once the air is out of it, then submerge it into a warm, tepid water solution. Okay, just dip it in there. What it does then is it'll force all the air up out of the bag. Okay, once it gets, dip it down in there, it'll start to submerge, and as it submerges, all the air is going to come out of the bag. As soon as the bag is right at the top level of the water, pinch it shut, and you can double the bag, throw it in your sous vide machine, your tanks, and let it go. Chicken can be done this way, all sorts of stuff can be done this way, and it is absolutely delicious. What I've also done is for tonight's meal is green beans with a mustard butter, okay, carrots with a ginger butter sauce. Okay, they've been blanched, so all I need to do is reheat them. So I set a tank to 168 degrees to reheat it. I have a compound butter for our chicken, and I have a horseradish cream sauce, okay, for the steak. And then now I know that those are going to be done in 15 minutes, okay, and realizing that anything you cook out of a submersible in water, especially protein, okay, is what temperature does protein coagulate at?
160.
160? Beef. Is the rationale guy still here? 160, somebody says?
I guess. I know eggs do it at 160.
140? Okay, 150 is when beef and light beef type proteins. Fish is a little different, generally around 120 degrees. Okay, but as long as you set the dials like this one here, for example. Okay, I literally put it in the tank at 9:30 on Sunday morning after the water had come up to 130 degrees, dropped the things into the tank and walked away. Okay, moved them here, put them back in the tank today, brought it back up to 130 degrees. Now that could stay like that for 4 days. It would never go up above 130 degrees. So when I take an instant read pocket thermometer, put it in the muscle of the meat, it's going to read 130 degrees. And it would stay that way a week. If I turn it up to 151 degrees, the beef would come up to 151 degrees, start to coagulate and start to change color, start to volatilize and coagulate. It'd become a tough cut of overcooked meat at 151 degrees. But it would never go over 151 degrees.
So chef, I just thought of something. If you take me, as beautiful as I am now, and cry back me and throw me in there at 130, I can stay that way
It's still
forever?
like this forever.
Forever.
It's too late, you know? I should have done that 20 years ago.
Well, I got more hands.
You're already pickled, so we just have to throw you in a tank.
What temperature would you do the chicken at?
Chicken depends on what temperature you want the chicken to come out at.
Safe?
You're going to have to bring it up over 160 degrees for chicken. And the only reason why is
And that won't
because
turn ugly?
no, it will. The thing about it is if you don't brown it beforehand, okay, and what will end up happening is it'll just be that opaque white. It'll look like a simmered poached chicken. Which you may want that. You may want that, but also typically what happens now is the modernists will take this out of the tank, break it open, save the jus, things like that, put it on a rack, take a blowtorch, and add, the color to it that way. I mean, I agree with, either rolling it back in the pan. The torch is a great thing for creme brulee and, and stuff like that. But even then, you can tell people use the wrong butane, they're using welding butane because it's cheaper or something. I don't know if you've ever tasted it, but the next time you have a creme brulee, check it out. They need to be using the blue tanks, not the yellow ones. Okay? But that's basically, that done. What we basically have done that from that point on, then is basically you can develop a whole meal. It could be starches, potatoes, the whole meal can be done and set up that way. Okay? Once you get
Chef, what's a cut vegetable?
Chef,
cut vegetables, yep,
Chef, I got a question from over here. I actually didn't make this one up.
okay.
Does the water evaporate? What do you do with that?
The water evaporate, I had two smaller tanks that I used, two Lexons that are, the half-size ones, about that tall. When I pulled it off this morning at 10 o'clock to look at them and transport them, I measured the tanks to see how much I covered them with foil, completely sealed them. Usually you'll see, they make seal tops for them that have a hole cut out for the impeller, but I lost basically about a half a cup to 3/4 of a cup of water. It's very
So
good.
how much is that?
Okay, here's the pitch. Hold on to your wallets, okay? And I'll give you a couple industry clues. These, as they sit, are $895. Typically, most people can't afford them. Most operations can't afford them. Okay, because we've got two of them for Nestle, whatnot. Well, there's a company out there called Aqua Nova. Okay, it's a new company that is Polyscience, and it is the household version of this exact unit. Same power, same watt, same everything is exactly the same on it, except the head on it, there's a smaller, or the shaft is about the same. It comes up and it has a dial that slopes out, and it doesn't have the same bells and whistles. It's basically on, off, temperature, and a timer.
And what does that run?
$199.
There you go.
It does it stand alone, or does it have like a pot and a cover with it?
Just like
Just
that.
like that?
but they only come like this.
Okay.
But that you can put it into a stainless steel pot. I have found, to be honest with you, I have gotten less evaporation via plastic versus using stainless steel. Stainless steel seems to conduct the energy a little bit more, and basically acts as a heating unit for itself, so creates a lot more. But you'll get even more even temperatures out of the stainless steel than you will plastic.
It's not really dangerous to touch it.
No. And the thing is, I've gone into kitchens that this is all they do. Everything comes out of these, and they have one going at 185, one going at 165, a tank going at 130, and another one going at 120 for fish.
Wow.
And they're literally just they mark it, they time stamp it with a Sharpie, throw it into the tank. And then they go, okay, pull 5. And they go 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, all 5 bags out. They're all marked 5, and they go zip onto a plate, and it's gone.
Are all the health departments up with this?
The health department and these are having some issues.
I figured they might.
They're having some big issues, but
Yeah.
us in the health department, we're always going to have
Oh,
issues.
definitely.
The big thing, like in Clark County, Washington right now, the big thing, and I don't know how it is down here, but is lettuce and tomatoes. They want lettuce at 41 degrees and tomatoes at 41 degrees at all times. Really?
It's ruined tomato.
And that's what the thing is. So you'd rather ruin the product, versus us turning it over more, and we want it iced down at 41 degrees. It's like, okay. And if you have the wrong Insta-read thermometer for hamburgers, because it has to have the type that's graduated, a really thin tip so it can fit into the patty. It's like, okay.
Chef, a couple points that I've seen here. So when you talked about the sear, every time in cooking that you see a color change, there's always a flavor change. Think about toasted bread, bacon, sizzling. So definitely, there's got to be either a pre-sear or post-sear on some of this. Keep in mind, in a commercial environment too, you're not going to do a bucket of that and have that sit in the back there. You're going to do that and then chill it in an ice bath. Put it back in the walk-in, and then you're going to do the all the minute cooking to order, finish them up to order. So more of a volume, more of a banquet or a volume application. You certainly can't do any of this a la carte. All this has to be done in advance. This part of molecular gastronomy. Of course, there's tons of other stuff we'll get to in a minute.
Well, I worked at a Hotel Intercontinental in Munich for a while, and all I did was prep. And for a while, all I did was prep stuff, and everything came out of a commissary kitchen. And at first, I didn't understand it. I was, right out of culinary school and stuff, so I really didn't understand the whole process. But it was a Michelin 3-star restaurant, sports bar, that 5 little outlets, just like any modern day place now, a hotel now. And the funny thing about it was, I was watching all this food go out, and it was all going out in these little pouches. Everything was seared, risotto, everything had a pouch. We just stacked racks and racks and racks of pouches. And finally one day I was allowed to go up out of the dungeon and take a look around, and it was like going, whoa, that's what's happening with that stuff. Because we never knew.
You know the whole story?
Yeah, and you were only given this much information to keep you that dangerous and keep you away from these people, because if the two of you mixed, there might be a mutiny, It was crazy. Fun times.
Anybody get that aroma when you crack
Yeah,
that?
it smells wonderful.
Yeah.
It smells like the real thing, huh?
Yes, it does.
In my easy
Yeah.
grassroots terminology.
Yeah, it does
Smell like the real thing.
It does.
And that's the great thing about
It
it.
is the real thing, though.
It is the real thing.
Chef,
Yep.
with your immersion, does it matter what size machine to what size bucket?
Yeah, there's some specs on as far as overall wise, you mean?
Well, like how much protein to how big of a...
No, I mean like how much
much
water
water
to each one?
No, there's a max level on the thing. I always fill it up to just below the max level. Like I filled this up in the other 2 tanks, and they were like shuffling right at the top, like the bathtub. So I had to dump some off, and as long as it's submersed, you know, 100% submerged, that's what you're looking for.
So I can put this in, put one lemon into a tank the size of the table as long as it's submerged, and that one would do the whole entire tank.
Yep. Yep. This one, this,
For $200.
this
I can do
one,
the entire tank.
this one will probably, and that one, yeah, will probably do, easily do that one, and probably do one twice as big as that one. Okay, so if you, I wouldn't go shallower, I mean deeper. I would go this depth at the most, but I would go wider.
Wider.
You know, so you know, and I'll be honest, I've seen guy that has gone to not Costco but Home Depot, and they have those black pool liners that go into for making ponds.
You can do a pig that way.
There is large commercial applications currently. Boulder, Colorado University Boulder uses a large stainless sous vide for their turkeys and et cetera, et cetera. The Paris Hotel in Vegas, same thing, does most of their meat roasting for their high volume outlets in a sous vide environment.
Their buffet.
All right, here comes the magic, guys.
All
I have a
right.
question. Was David Goulet who really started this method of cooking again in America?
Wow.
I'm talking
Reawaken it, because
Yeah,
this
reawaken.
method actually came out in the 70s in
but he
France.
brought it back into
Yes.
I
It
thought
looks so tender. Such a nice color.
When you do a whole chicken, how do you handle the air cavity?
You submerge it.
But the
Okay,
cavity.
yeah, it'll go away. The air will get sucked out. Guarantee you.
Most of the ones I see are halves or quarters or
Yeah.
pieces.
Yeah.
But look at this, from end to end, from the very tip. Look at that first slice there, Chef.
Beautiful.
Pull the first slice and then like a middle slice. And look at the color.
Perfect.
The crust.
That is gorgeous.
It'll be that color all the way through,
Wow.
and it'll be that way for 4 days.
How long has this been going on for?
This has been on for 32 hours
For this
now.
method?
Since 1812 or something
Really?
like that. Yeah. If you look back in Escoffier's stuff,
Yeah.
and in some of Carême's stuff, and you read that stuff, it's been going on a long time. And the most practical version that you know of it today is called
A crock pot.
no
Boil in the bag.
boil in the bag, but probably something on a menu. You've done it on a menu before. You've probably taken parchment and
Oh, yeah.
wrapped it up
And
and
papillote.
papillote. That is a sous vide technique,
Oh,
if
okay.
you
I've
will.
been doing that forever then.
Also, if you really want to watch it, is what's his name? Anthony Bourdain went.
That was a great.
And you really see Daniel Bullock going back to his farm, to his parents, and they go visit Bacchus, and it's just unbelievable.
What you got there, Chef?
This is that trim that I was telling you about.
Oh, nice.
Okay, I've just added some carrots. Oops, sorry.
It's all right.
I'll throw it out you. You know, it's your language. You know, I don't know. Can't understand it. So.
Smells great.
So you basically
It looks great.
Got your shoes?
throw it in a
Did you make a roux?
now you have a beef stew to Red Bull.
Did you make a roux?
This, what I did with this, was with like a beef stew. What I did was I took the beef chunks and I rolled it in flour, and I used beef
That
base,
sauce is perfect.
but the flour was in this. Okay, so it was more pasty, and I just threw it all together and it went on its merry way. So,
Don't forget at dinner, the same cut of meat, those ones right there, and check that silver skin in the middle. That's usually, absolutely inedible. And watch how it just melts.
Oh, everything smells so good.
It also cuts down your waste too. Your food costs.
Yeah, there's no shrinkage.
there's no shrinkage.
Once it's in the sous vide,
I haven't
Your
worried about that in a while.
And, and the funny thing is about it, when I talked to the chef about his techniques and why he did it this way, and he basically said I could control every flavor, every portion, every ounce, everything from right here.
Now, what did you
And because it's like, if that's a portion, you know that's what's going on the thing. You're not going scoop, you got 5 carrots, she gets 20, he gets 2, he gets 1, and you know.
Millie got too busy, so the carrots are too crunchy this time. Millie takes her time and they're done right when she's on. Anybody ever hear that? Oh, it was better when Bobby made the greatest chili on Monday. Well, what happened to Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday?
Somebody else made it.
Great example for where prepared products do help.
So you can base it. So basically,
That's
we
gorgeous.
can do this like in our own little restaurant right there.
Oh, that is beautiful.
Smell that ginger even off the carrots? I mean, the aromas still come across perfect.
But look at the color of it.
Perfect.
And when you taste it tonight, in fact, I'll cut up these so you can taste it now, so you can see. But it's off the charts. Stew is the same thing. All I've done is taken the trim, cut it up, and that stew went 30 hours.
Wow.
And I don't care about the doneness of that. I just want it tender.
Oh, yeah.
I don't care if it looks colorful like this. This I want because people are going to look at it and they go, what cut is that? What cut is that? You know, and you could do a rouladen out of it, split it open, pound it out, do a rouladen.
Those can be really.
Chef, do you want me to continue on the PowerPoint presentation, or you can cut up and
Sure.
clean up? And
Yeah,
whatever you
okay,
want to
go
do?
ahead.
Is there anything else you got there? Or no?
That's what I got.
Tracy, we'll go back to you.
I'll cut up some of these and send
Thank
some
you.
plates out for you guys
No.
to try. Go for it.
All right.
What was the name of that machine that's for home?
It's Aqua Nova. That's a hazelnut mustard.
Okay. We're in the home stretch of this baby. Everybody with me? How do you do it in class, Dean? How do you do it in class? Get their attention? You have any technique you use?
No.
What do you do? What do you do, Dean? Emily, what do you do in class to get their attention? Do you have an indoor voice?
Who lost their wallet?
That's right. Pretty well. Alright, maybe I'll make myself sound like
All right, let's finish up. Let's finish up.
Listen up.
We got one more presentation, then we'll have dinner.
Or, yeah, I thought of the answer. Okay.
Okay, advancing classics through modernism, miniaturization of equipment. We just want to think about where does this technology come from? Where does this thinking come from? So, microbreweries. You know, breweries used to be in this country, at least all Anheuser-Busch, silo size. What's the trend now? Where's the good stuff come from? I don't know, I've been 26 years, but I've been told it comes from the little guys, right? Micro distilleries. What can you buy now at the store? It used to be illegal. In fact, that's part of the mystique right now. Moonshine, right? There's all flavors of it even. Micro chocolate roasters. I mean, who gets the name stuff in the chef community? Who's the name, you know, who's the good stuff? Micro coffee roasters, you know, in this town. Way back when I was a kid, coffee plantation, but nowadays it's like cartel coffee lab. Who roasts the best beans? Who has the best coffee? Pilot plants. Chef wanted me to stress on that. When you think pilot plant, you don't hear that too much. Where Greg and I actually work out of our home office in Solon, Ohio, downstairs has a pilot plant. You can come in, work on a project with us, and by the time you leave in the third day, you can have a small package of your number 10 cans or your frozen pouch right out of our manufacturing facilities. Our same R&D chefs will make you small batches. Did I do that one okay, Chef?
You did, that was
All right,
perfect.
Tracy. Chefs advancing the craft. And I may call on some of you smarty pantses to help me out. Lavarine, 1615 to 1678. Who can tell me about this guy? Anybody?
He was a shit in Watson.
So he only lived 63 years old, so Corey Talaflores kicked his butt. Chef, what can you tell me about Lavarine?
Lavarine is basically the great-grandfather of classic cuisine. He was very big into, much like Carême, very big into displays, presentation, things like that. Also spent a lot of time on buffets, display of those, and also the science behind food. Really started thinking about why are we cooking this way versus it just being, you know, thrown out there. So he really kind of started, and as we go through, every single one of them is stolen a little bit from the next guy.
Carême.
Just like you've stolen something
My
from
friends know
the
about him,
last
right? Carême, what's he most famous for? Ooh, I know. the fish deliveries were late, so rather than deal with it, he killed himself. He fell on his own knife. But what he was famous for is really putting the ego in chefness. You know, making the early rock star of chefs to royalty. Escoffier, when I was young, the kitchen where I learned my knowledge was he was the chef to kings, king of chefs. He was the first one to put things together in a guide culinaire, a master cookbook that taught you everything from a white sauce to a brown sauce to a tomato sauce to basic recipes. To modern day, Paul Bocuse, 1926 till now, he's still living. Ferran Adrià, and who knows what that guy is. El Bulli, I guess it's closed now. For a number of years, it was the #1 restaurant in the world as far as ratings. It's what brought molecular gastronomy to all of us, really, today. Heston Blumenthal worked for Ferran, brought it to the United States. Nathan, how do you say that last name? Mythful. You guys know about him? I know all about him.
Anybody know about him?
Chief Technology Officer from Microsoft.
That's
Absolutely.
right. That's exactly who he is.
#3, Microsoft took all his money. Brainiac graduated high school like 3 years old, college, 6 years old, multiple masters, this, that, did technology, and then he got bored with that stuff and said, I want to learn more about cooking. I like cooking. So he's the one that took all culinary classic history, said, why? Why this? Why does this work? Hired a staff. No income, no restaurant. Hired a staff, put them in a building, and started breaking down. And it's called, his cookbook volumes are called Modernist Cuisine.
Anybody have those?
What do they cost?
It's unreal.
There's $600, and I go, I have a PDF that I borrowed.
He borrowed.
So do we. So do we.
So when Modernist Cuisine came out, though, I remember reading about it, and then I saw the price tag, and I went, that's not going to happen. So we borrowed it. Our boss is so cool. He gave us borrowed copies. That was our Christmas present. Let that go, Greg. But now there's a home version, believe it or not. So, and if you need that, and you're going to buy my Miner's Bases, I can borrow you a couple, because I have it. Equipment use, slow cook, convection ovens. This is traditional, or back in its day, what was known as modernist cuisine. So, slow cook convection ovens. Back in the day, before that, there was ovens. Then you had the fan, right? I got a quick one for you too. This is kind of a culinary quiz question. So, convection oven and conventional oven, they're both at 425. Which one is hotter? No. Cooks faster, that's all. The fan, it transfers the heat quicker because of the fan. Hey, we got some culinary educators on that. Now I'm smart.
Everyone works with our ovens now.
Pressurized fat fryers. Who made that famous? Colonel Sanders.
Earl Sanders.
Buffalo choppers. What is that?
Oh, yeah.
It's a chopper in old school kitchens.
Anybody know where it came from?
No.
Buffalo.
Nope. What's that? Buffalo, New York, but no. Actually, buffalo choppers you first see in old time, Civil War photos, front ends of trains and things like that, because an army moves on its what? Stomach, okay, because without the movement of the army and the movement of food, the army does not go anywhere, okay, and if you don't believe that, take a look at memoirs and things of all the old generals and why things stopped, because the food stopped and the whole thing came to an end. But what they did is they took a design that looks exactly like the tabletop design of a buffalo chopper that would fit on the front end of the PTO of a locomotive. Okay, and literally they would pull up the coach wagon, the cook wagon, they'd pull that up with the wagons and the train, pull out in the middle of a huge, huge field with millions of bison or buffalo. They'd mow them down, drag them in, skin them, bone them out, throw them into a buffalo chopper.
Wow.
Grind them up and use them for, meatloaf, stews, things like that. Hence the name buffalo chopper.
And without a buffalo chopper, in the miners' facility in Cleveland, there's, I think, maybe one of the world's largest buffalo.
Yeah.
All of our food bases, that puree, happens in the same as you look at a buffalo chopper, but a giant industrial version. All our proteins are cooked, mixed with spices, herbs, and mirepoix, and squeezed into those little tubs that pay my bills. Robocoupes, small versions, vertical, we all know that. Combi ovens, is Alan still here? Okay.
Yeah, combi ovens.
Those things,
Those
they cost a
things are
lot.
awesome.
Hand blenders, we know that. Next, Tracy. Okay, and what is the latest and greatest? Anti-griddle. Anybody seen one of those, know what those are?
Yeah.
They look just like a griddle, but they're cold. You put a sauce on there, boom, instantly freezes it. We got one at the Nestle office. It's always in the storeroom. I don't know what we don't do with it. Smoking guns. Somebody in the miners contest a couple years ago did a dish, had a lid, this little hand gun that had smoke. Added to his dish. Siphons, who knows? Vacuum sealers, Greg talked about. Circulators, that's what those things are. Dehydrators. Anybody ever have beef jerky, banana chips, on and on and on. Dehydrated mushrooms, vaporizers. You can put, same thing, you can put a vapor and then open it, or put it in a balloon and pop the balloon and you get the vapor, the smell of the food or whatever. Grab scales, I'm not allowed to use those anymore legally. Thermometers. Thermometers with probes, we got those chilling baths. So the other side of this, you know, when you get this done, you don't just throw it in the walk-in at 1:30 and let it slowly do whatever it wants to do. You put it in an ice bath or a chilling bath. Pressure cookers, Leonard Rubin knows how to use those. They still scare me. My mom told me when I was a kid, don't mess with those, they blow up and they kill people. Microwaves. Homogenizer, Greg will have to tell you what that is. Vacuum tumbler, that's kind of part of the cook-chill operation, correct?
Yep.
Next, Tracy. Words I probably can't say. Instacure 1 and 2. Anybody ever make sausage? Yeah. Those are sausage deals, right? Say right, because even if I'm wrong, just say right. Right. Sodium citrate, alginate, these are all molecular science things down to here. You know, molecular science, to me, in my opinion, still can be used and abused. There's things like meat glues. One of them was up there, a couple of them are up there, where you glue a couple different proteins together and then you cut them, and now you got salmon mixed with halibut. I don't know. Yes, sir.
Which one is the one where you turn the fat into powder?
Don't know.
Tapioca multidextrose.
There we go. He's got it.
Tapioca multidextrose.
Liquid nitrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide, I don't know. Carrageenan. Soy lecithin, I know that one is. It makes things slippery. Xanthan gum is in a lot of Nestle products. So sometimes people say I don't have a clean label to see xanthan gum, but I see it all over molecular gastronomy. I don't know, I'm confused. Just buy my stuff. Wandra, it's a flour, right? It's a superfine flour, modified flour. Really cool. Next.
Can I add to your xanthan gum? It's an all-natural product
Yeah,
as
it's
well.
a seaweed
so.
derivative, right? Sous vide, we learned about that today. Foams, depending on the chef you know or work with, some will hate it and never do it again in their life, and some love them. Don't know. Dispersion, hydration, gels, spherification. You know, this spherification, I think this is talking about where you make caviar out of stuff. Is that correct?
Purification, yes.
So
You can do smaller ones. You can do large, like balloons as well.
I actually watched first stand on Thursday watching it because I heard about it, but I never seen it. So I was watching this guy doing it, and it didn't work. And then you know what that did to me? I'm certainly not going to try it. These guys supposedly know what they're doing. I don't know what any of these words are here. Please look them up. Pasteurization has been around forever. High heat kills bacteria. Maillard reduction. I know, that's in one of the shelf.
Reaction, not reduction. But you should know this one.
What is this one? Because it's in the chef test.
It is. It's in all the chef tests.
What is it?
Becky.
What is it?
It's the browning process.
Browning has a protein.
There we go. And what I said earlier, anytime you see a color change, you're going to have a flavor change. Caramelizes those, and usually, even though it looks brown, it's going to have a sweetness to the outside of that meat. Aging and ripening, the beef guys talked about that. Ekman pumping, God knows what that might be. Fixing color. That's where you would set a color, like when you blanch broccoli or any kind of food products. Sterilization, man.
When do you go to the vet?
Incineratus. Go ahead, Tracy. Did Greg leave? We're over. No, go ahead.
We can have some more.
Okay. Okay, then Greg wanted me to talk about, how you make stuff classic. Here's how you make a classic pot roast. Sear the mussel, set aside, add rough mirepoix, add the tomato pot, add stock, add mussel, add sachet, and I can tear that apart because I love braise. I'm old school chef. A good braise to me is So, does that sound like boiled beef?
Yeah.
No, because that's not what it is, no. So sear the mussel. And even my master chef left out a step. What should be before the sear? Yes!
Season.
Write Bill up for that.
I will.
Add rough mirepoix, tomato product, and sachet cover. Okay, go ahead, Tracy. Beef clod steak. Okay, we're continuing. Slow cook covered 3 to 4 hours. Remove from heat, separate from the broth, reserve warm. Strain finished sauce, plate with blah blah. Okay, go. That's the old school. Okay, Chef Taylor's. He seared and seasoned.
Yep.
Okay, if it works for him, I'll buy it. Seared and seasoned, and it looked beautifully. He vacuumed the mussel, put in the water bath, not 136, so 130.
130.
Remove from pots, dry out, finished plate. Is that what he did?
Yes.
Okay. I do see an opportunity there, though. For a guy like me, I actually sent this off, they didn't answer. Brian, thinking of things again. So if you would sous vide and do it the way it says, where's the sauce or the gravy? That step? There ain't there. So what do? You buy my stuff. So I wish sous vide just went huge, because then I could sell you miner's demi-glace. And you can do whatever you want with it. It's already done in the pouch. I could call it sous vide gravy. Go ahead. A pig's ear to a silk purse. Chef, what's the final deal? What did they do?
Final deal is, go ahead and grab your spoon. Okay. And this is just an example of something that is very palatable, is also very nommy if you look at it that way. Just take it all in, swish it around. It's okay, it'll be all right. You're a texture gal, aren't you? A texture gal. You're not vegan, are you? Oh, God.
My daughter can do it then.
Okay. What do you get off that? Very hearty, rich, very fluid, a little crunchy a little bit. Okay, do it. A little mushroom back to it. Is that? What is it? Something good? Yeah. Basically, it's just very, very, very fluid and liquid. I think that's what we're looking for when we're looking at, taking ancient times. Okay. And we also have a little parting gift for you. Okay, and inside here you can take it home with you if you want, or you can get rid of it. But basically, our master chef came up with this because he had just come back from Thailand, spending like 6 weeks over there, or 3 weeks over there, something like that. Thailand, Vietnam, Laos, basically behind the scenes. And he came back and said, I got this great idea. Let's go from a pig's ear. Okay, so you got a chunk of pig's ear in your little silk purse, to a silk purse. Basically what you're doing is you're taking something that is extremely, really worth nothing, okay? But we simmered them and we produced a pig ear jelly, okay, that is the base for some of the sauces, okay? But we braised it via sous vide to produce the product to be smooth as a silk purse.
So is this edible then?
What's that?
Is this edible then?
Go for it, man. I used to eat dog biscuits when I was young. But,
I think that jelly,
I'm into it.
that jelly was made from.
That jelly was made. Jelly was made from sous vide pig's ears.
These very dry, just like this,
Yeah.
and then gelatin to it, or?
Nope. There's no gelatin in that at all.
Okay, it's just a
That's
natural.
all natural. And if it would have sat out probably another hour, it would have been almost gelatinous,
And then that was a dried mushroom or something?
Yeah, just dried mushroom
How
topping.
long does it take?
What's that?
How long does it take?
That went in, the pig's ear group went in probably, I want to say I did those, that was a little longer period of time, that was 136 degrees for probably, I want to say 48 hours.
48?
Yeah. And I just tossed them in bags and seasoned them a little bit, and that was it.
All right, guys. Any questions?
Any questions?
We did a
Thanks
lot
for
of
your
stuff.
attendance.
We did a lot of stuff. I want to thank my friend GregTaylor. I want to tell you kind of just a 2-minute funny backstory because I'm liking doing this today. So this year I asked to expense one of these sous vide things for my boss. And I did a really good job that day, so I thought for sure. He said no. So I've been hurt. So Greg comes Saturday to my house to pick up all the sous vide stuff. And he says, no, he called me Saturday. And he said, well, you got all the stuff. You can just get it started at your house. And I went, oh, no. I don't have a sous vide thing, and I haven't had time to practice, so I don't want to kill anybody. So you got to come and pick it up. So he came and picked it up, and he cooked it himself. So here I'm pouty, right? I don't have my sous vide, so I don't know how to do it. So he gets the sous vide. So what does he do back to me today? So when Master Chef doesn't show up, we have another guy that's supposed to help Greg. So about an hour, I'm finishing my other thing, and Greg goes, by the way, you got to do the PowerPoint thing with me today. And walks off. So when you think we all grow up, we never grow up.
We've worked together the last 8 months. This might be the last time.
Yeah. But both of us, I got to say, back to my job working thing. Anybody can be a 90-day wonder, go to work for a job, maybe even stretch it to that 1 year on a resume. But Greg and I both have worked for the world's largest food service company now into our 9th year, so that's got to say something for us. So, thank you. Next up,